from falling close to the ground. Perish or try to fight it, parachute now. Last chance, the final moment, parachute now and deliver us to the ground. I wanna pull the string, on and on I feel the speed. Too far to break from pressure, too much to bear.
Welcome everyone to the Chris Parrish Podcast episode 133, Father Time. My name is Chris Parrish. I'm hoping, if you're a father out there, happy Father's Day. Do want to let everybody know that this wouldn't be a show without our beautiful partners in Turnbuckle Studios. So visit turnbucklestudios.org for all your needs. Want to thank Beardcade YEG for partnering up with the Chris Parrish Podcast. You can go check them out at 105 4480 2nd Ave in Edmonton, Alberta, if you want to get a home of your content when it comes to live viewings of either WWE or AEW. It's a great place. You can go check them out on all major shows. By the way, free viewings. Who doesn't like free? Also, the Chris Parrish Podcast has partnered up with Dubby. So if you want to go to dubby.gg and use the code word Parrish10 at checkout, you can save yourself 10%. If you're on there and you want to just help Turnbuckle Studios, please use the promo code TB Studios to get 10% off. So either Parrish 10 or TB Studios can get you 10% off at checkout. We got you covered here. It's just what we do. It's like we're taking care of you, just like what a true father should do. Titled called Father's Time. Why? Because it is on Father's Day. We do want to talk about the fathers of pro wrestling. And guess what? Some of those fathers are making some beautiful work right now, as Rey Mysterio just live last night on AAA discussed that a former world champion is going to show up in AAA. So who could that be? We're also looking towards Night of Champions, where we have multiple fathers take and fight, as Cody Rhodes is set to defend his undisputed championship against not one but two men, and against another father in Sami Zayn, as well as the Ring General Gunther. We also know that on that card, we will see a father in Seth Rollins take on Braun Breaker in a steel cage match. And we also know that we are going to get an abundance of fathers take and fight tomorrow on Raw. But you're asking, what is the whole point? Am I just going to say this guy's a father, this guy's a father? No, I'm not. That's not what I'm going to do. We're going to talk about some of our favorite fathers in pro wrestling. One of my personal favorites is who I mentioned at the beginning, Rey Mysterio. He is the only father to be tag team champions with his son in WWE. He's also recently stated on The Undertaker's podcast that his daughter is looking to get into the business, as she has been training at the Performance Center. So where I'm kind of going with this theme is not just letting you know who happens to be a father in wrestling, but some of the best moments where you actually saw a father be. So, for example, let's talk about Rey Mysterio. He won tag team championships with his son. And I do still think to this day, because it was done through the pandemic, it was through the time when there was no audience, how much better that moment would have been with a proper story that led into the first show or right after the first show with people back. Imagine if that was done in front of a sold out crowd. But what I think is so cool about him and his longevity is not only are we seeing him have this success with his son, he's even watching his son and his success, which is very rare. It's very rare that you get to be active in wrestling when your child is. And for him to be potentially on the verge of having two of his children active while he is still ongoing, I think is pretty remarkable. You'll watch how his son has not only taken shape into the Judgment Day, becoming an Intercontinental Champion, becoming an NXT North American Champion on multiple occasions, Intercontinental Championship on multiple occasions, but also becoming your AAA Mega Champion and also becoming the first Mysterio to ever hold that title. And then now he is the general manager to that. It is going to be a lot of fun. I do want to give a shout out to what we saw in AAA last night, and that was El Grande Americano being attacked by Pedos Del Mar, who is not a new group to AAA, but one spearheaded. We know that one member of OTM is in there. We know that Carmen Petrovic is in there. We know that Garza or both members of Los Garza are in there, Berto and Angel. But the question is why? And I have a feeling that this is targeting El Grande Americano because this group is going to be the brainchild of one Dom Mysterio. And I would be very interested to see how this dynamic between Ray and Dom then gets back into pro wrestling. Because it's very rare that we get to see father and son active storylines. I think it would be pretty cool because, well, let's just say it hits a little closer to the heartstring. But the description does talk about the fathers in wrestling, or some of them. And I do want to talk about Rey Mysterio. Because watching and listening to this podcast that he did on The Undertaker's show, it made me think of just the moments that we got to see from him. Whether it was all the way back into WCW with those amazing matches that were none more highlighted than the one at Halloween Havoc against Eddie Guerrero. But then we've seen his debut in WWE. We've seen him become world heavyweight champion. I really got fortunate when I got to see that live in Chicago at WrestleMania 22, where he defeated Kurt Angle and Randy Orton in that triple threat. But Rey Mysterio is someone who, at the age of 14, technically made his debut, has wrestled in multiple decades, has a list that only Chris Jericho can read live on TV that would take up commercial segment after commercial segment. But he is someone that has transcended the imagery of pro wrestling in Mexico with just his mask alone, one of the biggest merchandise sellers probably of all time. And now has inspired so many wrestlers to, I think, become larger than life because he was the first luchador to hold a WWE championship, like while wearing that mask. So, and not to mention, he's under 6 feet, he's under 200 pounds, and he doesn't use the power moves that we're so used to seeing the heavyweight champions use. I think it's very cool that we still get to watch him, but also watch him in a way where we can see his mobility back. And at his age, it is quite impressive just to see all of that. But at the same time, now that he's general manager of AAA and we're getting to watch that brand just get better and better and better. And it's becoming almost at the likes of when we thought NXT was going to be the next big thing, when we saw takeover after takeover after takeover, where we're looking at a weekend and there's a takeover on the Saturday, a pay-per-view or PLE on a Sunday, and we're more invested in the takeover. I think we're getting into that way with AAA. And it has a lot to do with not just what's going on, but also the impact that, guys like Undertaker and Rey Mysterio have developed and put in with AAA. Now, I understand they're not the only ones, but largely, you can definitely say that without the representation of Rey Mysterio, AAA probably doesn't see the popularity growth as much. And then with the creative of Undertaker, look no further than that mask versus mask match. And we'll be talking about that for years to come. So in my eyes, Rey Mysterio, not just one of the most impactful wrestlers of all time. I do think when we talk about Mount Rushmore, the longer he goes, the more definitive I think it is that he is a part of it. And he may not be the money generator revenue guy like Hulk Hogan or John Cena or Stone Cold Steve Austin were, but the impact and what he's done to the culture of a lot of different culture, like what the impact of the cultures that he's made, whether it's through Mexico or the Latin areas of the United States, or just even his ability to connect to multiple across the world. You have to look at Rey Mysterio as being one of the most famous and impactful pro wrestlers of all time. His mask is an image that everyone knows. And as much as everyone knows who The Undertaker is, I think now you can go across the world and everybody knows Rey Mysterio. And I think that is just a symbol of iconic. And when I was kind of putting together the idea of talking about, I'm doing a show today. Obviously, I'm like, hey, it'd be cool if my son came down, but he is too busy being a monster upstairs. I thought, what better way to talk about some of my favorites who happen to be a father and their impact in wrestling, to where we now see the legacy. And I think that is something to really take shape. And I think Rey Mysterio is by far one of the most important figures in pro wrestling when you look at his contributions, what he meant to WCW in the cruiserweight division, and was truly a name that without it left a huge hole in there. He comes over to WWE and absolutely transcends what it's like to be a small man in pro wrestling. And when we thought guys like Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart, who were around the 6 foot mark, and their ability to, get you with whether it's their in-ring or their personality or their charisma, Rey Mysterio brings in a completely different element. He has the mask, which makes the kids want to buy him. But then he has the in-ring genius that the hardcore wrestling fan base admires. And then he just has a character around him that makes the general entertainment fan say, wow. And then on top of that, he has his one-on-ones with the kids who wear a mask with him. He has those moments. So his ability to connect with his audience is second to none. And let's not talk about just him as a professional, as a human being, because he's one of those people who you never hear anybody say a negative thing about, and that might just be the biggest accolade that you don't mention about Rey Mysterio. I could tell you that he was truly inspiring to watch when he became a world heavyweight champion. And I'm someone who I can say I'm not a big man. I'm 5'7". So watching someone who I'm technically maybe a little bit taller than win a world heavyweight title in front of my eyes with a story that had a Royal Rumble win, and he becomes the world heavyweight champion of WrestleMania. That is a dream that just about every aspiring pro wrestler would want to have. So you get so many levels of respect and intrigue and admiration and inspiration from someone, but then you also combat that with he is a Latin background. He is transcending a culture in Mexico, and he has made lucha libre something that we all talk about decades after he left it to go and chase the American dream. We have CBRS Entertainment coming in saying, at a house show in 2005, Rey Mysterio went straight to my brother and acknowledged him because he was wearing Rey's mask. And that's just, I mean, we always hear that the number one thing to do in pro wrestling is to always connect to your audience. And Rey Mysterio does that to a T. He is aware enough on the business end that he can connect with you despite your background because he's a good human being. And he has a positive message. You never saw Rey Mysterio need to use profanity for the sake of a pop or to get over or things like that. He never took that cheap way out. And I thought that has always been really cool. And then you look at what his son does, and you can't tell me Dom Mysterio is not inspired by his father with the way he works. You see it on his pants with the side, like just the imagery on Dom's pants is a straight tribute to Rey. As you see that on the side of Rey's mask. But everything that is positive about Rey, if you flip it into the negative, that's Dom Mysterio. And it's really interesting. And then you look at the legacy that Rey has in the world of pro wrestling. And when anybody talks about lucha libre, he is not just iconic. He is the godfather of lucha libre. And he is highly respected as not just the face, but the heart. And if you want to acknowledge it, the bloodline of lucha libre. So yeah, when I was thinking about this episode, I just really wanted to talk about some of my favorite performers and tie it in with the Father's Day aspect. So for me, I just wanted to do a little something different, but also acknowledge just, as I listened to that podcast, I went back and watched a lot of Rey Mysterio stuff. And I can honestly say this is someone that if he does an interview, I'm watching it. Like, I'm just tuning into it, because few guys can go and talk about wrestling to the point I can't get tired of it because I'm learning something new. And John Cena was one of those guys for me too. But Rey Mysterio is becoming one of those men as well. So, yeah. Happy Father's Day, Ray, and I hope I get to watch you live one more time. But we here want you to watch us live. That's why Turnbuckle Studios has just an amazing catalog, and we are delivering content on a daily basis. So check out our weekly calendar as we'll talk about this upcoming weekend in 7 and 6 days. I did that because I'm not going into that reference. But check out this, and then we'll talk about next weekend.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday night, we are on call as the Raw Patrol is on duty at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday, we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursdays, let us power your dreams with the Xbox Showcase at 9 p.m. Friday, we invite you to come for a ride with the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday, be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. And later in the day, the Locker Room presents Wrestling Recap delivers at 7 p.m. Always be aware that weekend shows can vary in times, as the PLE Patrol and other watch party streams are always a must-see. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day, and watch all of the latest episodes on turnbucklestudios.org/shows. And please do not forget to drop a like, follow, and to subscribe to all of our channels, and when the time is right, all you have to do is tap in.
That's right, everyone. Please. The power is turnbucklestudios.org. That is your gateway to all information in regards to Turnbuckle Studios. And we do have a plethora of shows to watch. And some of that will be altered this coming week. As on Saturday next week, we will be doing a live PLE Patrol of Night of Champions. So we could see a scheduling change in Saturday night's gaming. On top of that, I will let you know that we are not going to be doing a scheduling change for Wrestling Recap. That will be going live on all the Turnbuckle Studios channels. But what's going live on my channels at 5 p.m. My time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be doing that watch party of Great American Bash. And let me tell you this, right before that, what we're going to be doing is something we've never done before, and this is a Discord in our exclusive. So if by chance you want to get involved with Turnbuckle Studios from a Discord way, all you have to do is join Turnbuckle Studios on Discord. And this Sunday, you'll be able to join what we call one of those VC rooms. And you can log in and you can watch TNA Slammiversary with myself and whoever else comes in. That's right. For the first time ever, we're deciding to connect with you as we watch TNA Slammiversary. You don't need a subscription. What we will do is provide you the viewing, and all we ask is for you to accompany us to have a good time as we watch Slammiversary, and then also act accordingly and in reference. Don't be a jerk. That's all we ask, and then everything will be fine. That will be right before Great American Bash, so I may have to leave just shortly before it ends to go and get ready for that. But yes, live on Discord, we will be playing Slammiversary, so come and check that out. We will be giving out a code for that room shortly, so don't you worry. I think another person who I have been admiring as of late on just their contributions in pro wrestling, who happen to be a father, is the obvious one. Because we see it throughout the entire WWE roster. In fact, we see it throughout the AEW roster as well, and some TNA. And that has to be the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Now, I can let you know that I was never a huge Dusty Rhodes guy. I never really watched him in the ring as much. He was not really active in WWF during the time I watched, and I never really watched WCW until shortly before the NWO started. So my Dusty Rhodes live experiences were really more him as a mentor to Cody, or even in the corner of Goldust, his kids. And what I think is just admirable about his legacy is that he has almost a spin on just about 80% of the total roster today. We know what he was able to do and accomplish after wrestling, and that's kind of where I want to talk about it, because this is somebody that when we lost him, I know that there was a person behind everything who, meant a lot to a lot of people. But the impact to pro wrestling was second to none. In fact, it'll never be duplicated. When we talk about NXT, as I mentioned, we're doing a watch party to NXT Great American Bash. Nobody was more NXT than the American Dream. He really was the PIC, the partner in crime with Triple H during this whole time, and he provided you an opportunity, whether it's creatively, whether it's tweaks in your game or just directional stuff. Like, it is crazy to think just how many people have been influenced by Mr. Rhodes. I mean, Seth Rollins himself, just that name was basically made because American Dream Dusty Rhodes thought it was funny to say because he had a lisp. Seth Rollins has said that on multiple platforms, that his name was there because Dusty Rhodes thought it was funny to say. And then now Seth Rollins is an MVP to WWE for the last 15 years. We know the inspirations he had with Kevin Owens and his time in NXT, as well as just the Shield in general, as we see where Roman Reigns is nowadays, and how he is not just the world heavyweight champion, but he was the guy as WWE made all of its transitions, whether it was post Vince McMahon or into the Netflix era, or, the time where they made some of the largest profits they were making. And then you look at Jon Moxley, Dean Ambrose, like just some of the things he's done there. And then now we're seeing Jon Moxley, run roughshod with the Death Riders in AEW, but also has been a multi-time champion, whether it's the world champion or it's other championships. As much as we want to say Chris Jericho has a large part in AEW's and its launch, you have to almost say so does Jon Moxley as well. He was that big first acquisition for AEW. From an active standpoint, Chris Jericho, I think you can say, was largely, I don't want to say nostalgia, but his name value was higher up than his in-ring activity. Jon Moxley was the active, and he was a member of one of the best stables in recent years, and it was because we saw that inspired through NXT and Dusty Rhodes. There are a few men I would be very intrigued to see what the world of wrestling would be like if we still had them. One is Pat Patterson, the other was Dusty Rhodes. CBRS coming on the YouTube side saying Paige said it best about Dusty, that he didn't want to play with you if you were fixed. Dusty wanted to play with you if you were broken, because he can help mold you into the wrestler you want to be. And that's always something we heard about WWE in a nutshell, is that they don't care about how you come into the company. They want to see what you are, what they want to do with you, kind of. And I think it's because it's a lot easier to shape someone from nothing than it is to correct. Now, the one tag team I would have loved to see kind of in today's day would be, hey, let's put Shawn Michaels with Dusty Rhodes and let's really see how things can go. And then when needed, we'll add your William Regal and AJ Styles to that mix. Like, just an absolute disgusting amount of riches when it comes to knowledge. But what I like is William Regal will fix you. He will correct what's wrong. He knows how. Shawn Michaels will guide you like none other, because that's what he does. AJ Styles will test you because that's what he does. But Dusty Rhodes will take all of that and make it as big as humanly possible. What he will do is direct you. He would create you. But more importantly, he would empower you. And I think that is really, really amazing. I mean, Chris Best, you said Paige. You want to look at Charlotte Flair. You want to look at Bayley, Sasha Banks, now Mercedes Moné, Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch. Some of the best women that ever come through NXT in that early time. And we have seen time in and time in star power. I mean, it's quite amazing just to see the impact with the current state. But now, all these people I've said, whether it's Cody Rhodes, Charlotte, Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, Bayley, Seth Rollins, and I know there's a couple more, like Roman Reigns. Look where they are now, years after he has passed away. But look at where they are now. And they still credit what they're doing right now to the inspiration and the direction they got all the way back. It's crazy. To the point where even Roman Reigns acknowledged how much Dusty thought of him when he was feuding with Cody. I mean, yes, I know that on the show there's just things for the sake of a good story, but a lot of that came from truth. So it to me just shows you just how important everyone is. And then if you want to just select his children, Goldust and Cody Rhodes, both active wrestlers right now, which is crazy looking a gap, but Cody Rhodes is the face of WWE right now. There's no denying that. And then you look at Goldust, his brother, Dustin Runnels. Like, if you want to talk about someone that could take something bad and make it great, Goldust might have just been one of the greatest characters in that. I remember watching him live multiple times, and I just said, how is this guy not world champion? How is Goldust not a world champion? How do they not go all the way with his character? Because if there was a character that wasn't scared about going all the way, I think we can all agree that Goldust fits that mold perfectly. And the crazy thing is, Dustin Rhodes, he was one of those guys that broke in with Dusty in the ring. And I thought that was really cool. It was almost like he got a little bit of help. So, if you're ever in the need of a little bit of help, please look no further.
A Turnbuckle Affiliation program is looking for more people. If you have passion level for pro wrestling, sports, videos games, or something else, then Turnbuckle Studios is the place to be. If you have ever wanted to pursue content creation and want to join our team, then we would love to have you. Check out turnbucklestudios.org or contact us by email today, because your future is now, and we want you to tap in.
And let me help you. Because what I've noticed is that if you watch a show, you aren't always following. You won't always like. So make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe, whether it's to all of my platforms, whether it's my Facebook, my YouTube, my Kick, my Twitch, my X account, or even Spotify, where you can always watch the Chris Parrish podcast, but even on the Turnbuckle Studios platforms, the Kick, the Twitch, and the YouTube. It is all there at a simple click of a button, and it's not that hard to do. So if by chance you haven't done so, please help us and like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you have to, or if you want to, rate the episodes if it's applicable, and let us know what you think, because we want to hear your feedback. As we kind of go into that final quarter of the show, I do want to take this as a time to kind of get ready for the things that come next, because as a good parent, what you want to do is be putting everyone that you care about, your children, in a position to succeed. So let's look towards the future just a little bit, and let's be prepared. We know that next week there are multiple wrestling shows. We know that AEW is going on. We know that NXT is going on. We know that TNA is going on. And we also know Night of Champions is going on. That is a grand slam of wrestling there. So we got you covered on all fronts with the exception of AEW. But what you can do is, I'm sure you can get excited to watch just about everything. There is no reason why you can't if you want to watch it all. But let's get to Night of Champions, shall we? because it is one show that really does look too good to miss. And I want to start with that steel cage match between Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. Now, I fully expect all the tomfoolery to happen in this match. A steel cage is meant to keep people out, right? But how often does it really? We always find over-the-top ways of still getting that interference. I'm going to make a prediction where I do believe this is the moment we will see Bronson Reed come back, and he will help Braun Breaker win. Now, we saw Logan Paul return in a non-wrestling way on Raw to where he was on the outside of Austin Theory. We then find out that Austin Theory and Braun Breaker will defend the tag team titles tomorrow on Raw against the Street Profits. And I am going to say that I believe Seth Rollins is going to ensure that the Street Profits walk out of Raw tomorrow with those tag team titles as we then set up for their steel cage match. I think that is a great way to how we can then move forward with Seth Rollins and maybe even Bronson Reed once again. And then we may be going with Braun Breaker and maybe whoever, whether it's the winner of Roman Reigns and what I think will be the SummerSlam our main event in Obafemi and Roman, or maybe we get CM Punk back into the fold. But I still think we're going to get all the stuff ongoing, and I don't think we're going to see any reason now. But I do think we're going to see the return of Bronson Reed here at Night of Champions. What we will also see is a United States Championship match for the women's in Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton. And I do think we are set to see a United States Championship match with some interference. Obviously, we know that Meechin and BFAB are going to be there making sure that Jade Cargill is going to walk out champion. But with them attacking Charlotte on SmackDown and more or less costing Charlotte an opportunity to advance in the Queen of the Ring tournament, I don't know if we're going to see Tiffany Stratton come alone. We do know that she told Chelsea Green she doesn't want her help, but could we see Alexa Bliss and or Charlotte try to fend off Jade Cargill and her group? None. I'm still going to go with Jade Cargill walking out U.S. champion. I do think that this is a time we see Jade Cargill and maybe Tiffany Stratton kind of continue and maybe keep going to SummerSlam, or this is just your way to make Jade Cargill and Charlotte an even bigger match at SummerSlam as we add the United States title to it. But let's kind of just see kind of how this goes, because again, I wouldn't be shocked if Tiffany retains the title in some way, given that SummerSlam is in her hometown of Minnesota. But I know that WWE likes to really go big with their marquee matches. Plus, there's no reason why maybe Tiffany Stratton can't win the title back on whether it's a Saturday night's main event or an episode of SmackDown. And I do want to emphasize that we do have one last week on SmackDown being 3 hours, as it will go back to 2 hours in July. So let's be aware of that. Sticking with United States Championship, we do know that Ricky Saints defeated Carmelo Hayes in a number one contendership match for the United States Championship, and he will face Trick Williams for that title on Night of Champions. And I really do think we aren't going to see a new champion at this time. We are going to see Trick Williams retain that championship, but I don't think we're going to see Carmelo Hayes be a silent person in this match. I do think we're going to get him in some way, shape, or form. I think this card is in line for all the tomfoolery. In fact, I hope we get it here. That takes us to both the King and Queen of the Ring finals. Oba Femi takes on main event Jey Uso in the King of the Ring final. And I'm going to be honest, I do not like the way this tournament went. I don't really care about Jey Uso in the final. I don't really think we needed to go the Oba Femi route. I understand it. But at the same time, I thought it was going to happen eventually. And I like my King of the Ring tournament to kind of help boost somebody on that up and up. And I didn't think Oba Femi needed it. I would be shocked if Oba Femi lost this match. Truly shocked. Now, would I be surprised if Jey Uso won? No. But I'd be more shocked if Oba lost. And that is where I'm going to go here. I'm going to go with Oba Femi as your King of the Ring. And I'm going to say this match is probably going to be between the 10 and 12 minute mark. And yeah. I don't think we get Brock Lesnar showing up on Night of Champions. But I do think... Actually, I don't think we're going to see him at Night of Champions. I think we see Brock Lesnar next on the Raw after Night of Champions. As it comes to the Queen of the Ring finals, we have Liv Morgan and Io Sky, and this one maybe confuses me just as much because we have because we have two people who I think WWE is very high on. I do know that Triple H loves Io Sky, and I could see Io Sky being put in a position to maybe take the title off Liv if somebody like Stephanie Victoria is not ready to come back. And let's be honest, who was the champion Stephanie Victoria defeated to become world champion? It was Io Sky, so maybe they run that one back a little bit. But Liv Morgan has been on such a tear this year that with a Royal Rumble win and winning the title at WrestleMania, I mean, we're almost in the 7th month of the year. She has not defended this title. It's almost as a thing where I don't really know what I'm thinking when it comes to Liv Morgan as champion, because as much as I wanted to see her become the champion, I'm now at a point where her championship doesn't mean anything because of the inactivity with it. So I don't want to see her going after a second title. We've already seen this. His name was Roman Reigns. It happened during the pandemic. So I don't really know if I want to see it again, but I'm sadly going to go. I'm not going to sadly. I'm going to go with Io Sky as our Queen of the Ring. And I think we're going to see some tension with the Judgment Day girls in this. And I think that could be the right way to go. And then lastly, we have a triple threat for the Undisputed Championship. Cody Rhodes defends his title against Sami Zayn and Gunther. And I could tell you that this is the match where I hope someone takes that championship off of Cody Rhodes. And as much as I think it should be Gunther, this is a time I think you shock everyone and go with Sami Zayn. Because what would a SummerSlam main event be for that title? Would anybody have Sami Zayn defending the title against Cody Rhodes in their bingo card? I know I wouldn't, but let's do it. I think I'm there. I think this version of Sami Zayn, it took a while for me to get used to, but I'm enjoying it. So let's do it. Now, I'm only going to give you my Night of Champions predictions because that show is on Saturday. On Sunday, we will see Great American Bash, and thankfully, Chris Parrish podcast next week will still be happening, and we will see 134 live at its regular time. So I will go through the Great American Bash card there. If by chance you wanted to know what next week is, well, I got it for you. But before we do that, let's check out our amazing shop right now.
The Turnbuckle Studios store is open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the merch and represent the best from the shows you watch on a weekly basis. Multiple styles to choose from with over 10 products available. Don't get left out and pick up all your favorites today. Find us at turnbucklestudios.org.
That's right, everybody. We do have a great shop there. So if you want to go and check out that, all you have to do is go to turnbucklestudios.org, and we have our amazing catalog of product there. So go pick up something that you enjoy. And if by chance it's one of those amazing Chris Parrish podcast shirts, hoodies, whatever, and you want to let me know, send me a picture. I'll give you a free shout out on a live show. Maybe you'll do that within the week. And I could tell you on episode 134, that is titled Streamlining. Why? Because we are going very hard next week with multiple streams. So we might as well be streamlining our way into exhaustion with episode 134 of the Chris Parrish podcast. I will let you know that right away. We will be discussing some Great American Bash as well as everything that comes with it. Some opinions about Night of Champions, and we will even add more as the week progresses. Once again, next week, if you want to check it out, we do have the Great American Bash watch party on all platforms for the Chris Parrish podcast. So please check out that. It'll be next Sunday, June 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So go and check that out. We are going to have a lot of fun doing so. Now, if by chance you're on the Twitch side of things, I'm going to make it very simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to direct one of the Turnbuckle Studios or Chris Parrish Twitch streams. That's going to go to the other one, and we're going to all collectively go to the same person after. So I will be doing that shortly. So if by chance you have a suggestion of who we should raid, please let me know right now, because we will be doing that. I will be letting everyone know that this has been episode 133, Father Time, and I do want to say thank you for you to spend your Sunday, your Father's Day with me. So if by chance you are a father, happy Father's Day. Now, we are going to be going after a raid here. So if by chance you are a fan of watching people play some video games, we are going to be raiding out to Bubbles the Dev. So go and say hi and let him know that the Chris Parrish podcast sent you. Till then, we are going to say a goodbye till next week. So thank you so much for checking out the Chris Bears podcast. We'll see you next week. For that time, be happy, be healthy, be yourself, because at the end of the day, you matter